Greetings, my name is Vern Joyce, and we will be looking at augmented reality versus virtual reality, educational outcomes in two separate studies. Both studies had the same information, or were looking at the same types of information to see if AR versus VR was better in education. Article 1, Augmented versus virtual reality in education. An exploratory study examining science knowledge retention when using augmented reality, virtual reality, mobile applications. On the right, you can see that I have a mobile device there with some AR pictures, and there's a Magnavox ViewMaster HMD, or head-mounted display. And in this study, they took a Samsung Galaxy 4 and they put it into an HMD, and they were using the same exact application, which had an AR mode and a VR mode, which was interesting that they were going to give the participants the exact same information throughout. Purpose of both of these studies, the study attempts to find quantifiable difference between AR and VR to see which media produces the best educational outcomes in a learning environment. The conditions for the first study was conducted at a university in the United States. The participants were college-age students. In this study, 75% of the participants were female studies, so this was a little unusual and may have produced skewed results. Worth trying again with 50% and 50% male and 50% female students. Again, the same application was used to learn about the solar system. The application had an AR mode and a VR mode. The VR mode worked when it was stuck into the ViewMaster, and the HMD was used there. The results. The AR users scored higher on auditory information assessments. The VR users scored higher on visual information assessments. There were 3 assessments given overall: a visual, an auditory, and an overall. The researchers see this as a outcome of perceptual overload. Basically, those in VR are bombarded with an immersive environment from both auditory and visual stimuli, and so their processing power is saturated, so they're not able to take in all the information. The authors also pointed out that all their users were new VR users and could have been overwhelmed by the immersiveness of VR. I can tell you, as a longtime VR user, I have an HTC Vive I've been using for 2 years now. Yeah, most of the new people that I've introduced to VR, they are very much overwhelmed in the first 5 minutes. It would be interesting to recreate this study with people that have been immersed in VR for at least a half hour or a couple hours, to see if that changes the scores one way or another. VR will become much more ubiquitous, so the results of this would be more interesting overall long term. Article 2, the influences of 2D image-based augmented reality and virtual reality on student learning. This was done by researchers in Taiwan with 10 to 11-year-olds in a middle school. They used 2 different applications, and they were looking at the solar system. The big difference here is that they claimed to use VR, which was not VR. They didn't use head-mounted displays for immersivity. They just used an opaque screen on a tablet PC, and they called that VR. On the right-hand side of this slide, those are all the different HMDs that are out on the market now. There's actually many more than this already. So they didn't use this. This study was done in 2017. I don't understand how they can call this an AR versus VR. They were basically and essentially comparing 2 AR applications against each other. The study lacks sufficient evidence. It didn't use actual virtual reality. Again, the AR app scored higher, but again, there's lots of pieces of information here missing. The AR app they were using was translucent, so when they held the screen up, they could move it around and they could see where things were. The virtual reality was just a regular application that was opaque on a flat screen. I don't know how they thought that was virtual reality. They were literally 2 AR applications, and they just compared 2 AR applications, and obviously the one that was actually AR they scored higher on. If I was the one that funded this study, I would be highly upset that this study was done this way. Thank you very much for your time and listening. And if you have any questions, you all know where to find me. Have a good one, folks.